Oh my God, I know your shirt is. I'm so good. Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year. Good to see you.
I know. What did you do?
Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year.
Yes.
Did you have a good one? Did you go out at all?
Yeah. I hit the streets a little bit.
Okay.
There was a little touch, a little New York City touch of the street.
Yeah.
But, made it home by
It's very daytime.
4, so yeah.
Oh,
not too terrible.
AM?
Yeah, it was the
We
AM.
are so different.
Oh, yeah?
Oh my God.
What did you do?
If you were taking me home at 4 a.m., I have fallen asleep somewhere, and you are then taking me home.
Yeah.
I can't do that anymore.
I get it.
Yeah.
It's a, once in a while thing, but I guess we do it, kind of often on SNL. You know what I mean? We have like late night stuff.
Y'all are cool, so
we work late. Yeah, we're pretty cool.
I had a good time. Me and my kids, we were actually in bed, and we were all so tired. But then we raced down to the kitchen right at midnight, and I had their like kid champagne and my champagne, and we all we 3 toasts. It was kind of cool.
That's
it was cute.
adorable.
Yeah, it was
fantastic.
cute.
Good.
And then we went to bed. Congrats on Unfunny Bunny. I love the book.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There it is right there. So cute.
I had one backstage too.
It's so cute.
I love it.
Yeah.
Did you have fun? I've written a kid's book before. It's so much fun to write. Have you always wanted to do something like this?
Yeah, I mean, once I did my memoir, I wanted to like get right into it because I've seen my other colleagues do it. Jimmy Fallon's got a great book, Kimmel's got a great book.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was excited to like take a swing at it, and then, yeah, we landed on a good title that kind of helped us figure out what the story was going to be, kind of stuff. So it all kind of like fell into place. It was fun.
I heard that you read, right, for a class.
Yes, I read the book to a school in Harlem called the Harlem Village Academy. Shout out to y'all.
I have a question. We have done many things, right, on stage, performed for so many people, right?
Yeah.
The moment I had to read for my kids' classroom.
Terrifying. It can be terrifying.
I was terrified. I have performed for a pope.
Yeah,
I have performed for like many things, and in that moment, that was the moment that I was gonna die.
Because
I was so nervous.
Kids will tell you the truth.
And you don't want your kid to be like, my mom is such a moron. You don't want your kid to think you're an idiot. But I was so nervous.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But I mean, these weren't my kids, so it was less.
But still, it didn't matter.
Yes.
Performing for little kids, they will be honest.
It's intense, because yes, they have no filter, but they were all very sweet. I feel like they may have known who I was, or they kind of didn't, I kind of aged out of, their awareness a little bit.
Oh, for sure. Most of the kids in my daughter's class were like, so you know Ariana Grande.
Right, yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes,
That's
I do.
my connection.
So cool.
But they really enjoyed reading the jokes. That was the sweet part about it. They really like took to like the actual like listening to the jokes, and then when I asked if anybody had a joke, like a whole bunch of hands went up. And a lot of them didn't have a joke. It didn't matter.
Just confident.
Just confident. And it was just sweet to see them like engaging in front of their peers, like no fear. It was a really amazing thing. So shout out to Harlem Village Academy.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a tongue twister.
That's so cool. The book is about a bunny trying to find what's funny, right? And has a hedgehog friend that's kind of helping, right?
It's about a bunny trying to find what's funny. That's exactly what it is.
You're welcome.
And he has a little buddy to bounce his ideas off of. It starts with him, getting ready for his first day of school, and he's like gonna tell this, great big joke that he's sure is gonna win everybody over, and it doesn't. And he has to figure out, where the, miscommunication is, between his sense of humor and what everybody else kind of understands to be funny.
That has to be parallel with your life, right? Just finding out, you know what I'm saying, coming from Nickelodeon, then going to SNL, that's a very different kind of funny as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I can relate to it at SNL specifically because that's when I actually started writing, Nickelodeon we were written for. So when I had to like create for myself at Saturday night, it was a tough lesson to like figure out, number one, how educated am I? And number two, how do you like interpret what I think is funny to everybody else? And we can all be on the same page and laugh about these things. So learning how to explain references, if you just can't assume that everybody knows who Arsenio Hall is. They might know Eddie Murphy, but they might not know that him and Arsenio are so connected, so you might have to do some explaining if you're gonna write a sketch about that kind of stuff, and just, things that you assume everybody would know is not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of like learning about other people and other cultures, thank God,
I agree. Have you read this to your daughters yet? Have you?
I haven't. I kind of want them to discover it in their own way.
You don't want to force it?
Yeah.
Read my book.
Yeah, like, hey, got a little gift for you. But yeah, no, I'm gonna like leave it outside their school or something.
Yeah, I totally forced my kids to read mine. I was like,
What'd they
read
say?
it. This is awesome.
And
They
were they proud
really
of
young.
Mommy?
They were proud, but well,
Yeah.
my daughter loved it because it's called River Rose and the Magical Lullaby. You know what I'm saying? So,
Of course.
you know, so she
Amazing.
loved it because her name is in it. But
How long ago did you do that?
years. Yeah,
Yeah.
she was a baby.
Okay.
Yeah, and she's 11. So hey.
Yeah, it was a while.
Yeah. So it's
Okay.
been a minute.
Yeah.
But she loved it because her name was. And now my son is like, "Where's my book?"
That was my follow-up question. Are you gonna do another one?
Yeah. I am totally. I was like, I'll do something else for you. I'll write you a song. We've been talking about jokes. Live comedy can be one of the most rewarding and most nerve-wracking experiences. So we thought now would be a good time for Kenan to relive some of his top live performance moments.
Oh.
This is Top 5 Live.
Oh.
Top 5 Live.
Talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's start with top moment performing live with an SNL host.
I gotta give it to there's so many, but the Eddie Murphy show was very special. It was like, you know, he was the first person that I saw my dad be excited about. You know what I mean? Like he was like a super movie star growing up, you know, in our household. So, and he was like the prodigal son because Sandler had already done it that February or that April or something like that. So Eddie was the only one left kind of that hadn't been back to the show that was such a massive star. And then, do you see the picture right there? His monologue
I mean,
was,
that's a boss picture in general. Let's just talk about it.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I'm getting to.
Oh, my God.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So at first it was just, you know, Tracy and Dave and Chris Rock, you know, there to support him. And then shout out to Michael Che, man. He felt like a current cast member should be there too, and he put me in it. So like that's one of my favorite pictures that I can even dream about having as a reality in my life kind of thing. So that was a very special moment.
Oh, that's awesome. So much funny on one stage. Okay, well, wait. Next, top moment hosting an award show.
I've hosted the NHL Awards a couple of times.
Okay.
And I can skate because I am a mighty duck.
We know.
You know?
Yeah.
And
Flying V.
in the promos, I remember I was able to skate in the Tampa Bay Lightning arena wearing a tuxedo. So I thought that
like
was pretty
James
good.
Bond.
Yeah, I was patting myself on the back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Did
look at
you,
this, I'm not
did
even
you
falling.
I was like, did you ever bust?
I don't fall anymore, no, but I remember that's all I did when we were in camp, you know?
Yeah.
Like as a kid, I was 15 years old.
When you're a kid, it's different though. Seeing an adult bust on an ice rink is...
It's awful.
It's fun.
It's awful. We just skated in Bryant Park the other day and people are just going ham. Like, I don't know, if you can't skate, why go so fast? But some people, and then both feet up is awful to see. Just whoosh.
Both feet up.
Boom. And they hopped right back up. God bless them.
No, like Gumby. Okay, next, top moment performing live at a college.
Oh, so I don't do stand-up because I don't have the time. But I do like go to these colleges and I can do kind of like an evening with Kenan, if you will, kind of thing. And I do a little like, I tell my life story or whatever in a humorous way, hopefully. And then, you know, I would open it up to Q&A because I just didn't have an hour of material or whatever. So I do like 30 and 30. And one time somebody proposed. And that was a real special, and she said yes. You know, like, that was a sweet moment.
Yes,
But
all
then
right.
that was a sweet one.
Next, top moment bombing. Oh.
So one of the first times a writer at SNL, shout out to T-Shawn Shannon, he wrote me a sketch just for me, and I was like a bellhop that was kind of like a rascal, basically, like not really like checking people in on time, just being annoying, like playing music or whatever. And, you know, there was some line that I flubbed, and I didn't really like understand the concept of live television, so I thought I was gonna be able to like just like let it go, you know what I mean? Like, no big deal, we'll just do it over, but like there was no do-over, and I kind of realized that in the moment. And the studio was so quiet, you know, that you could hear one lady go, "Oh." And I was like, I didn't really understand how to like embrace the moment and ad-lib and make it a funny thing. That,
I know,
I
look up and go,
none of that.
right?
I just like let it just hit the floor. And then, it got cut or whatever. And we didn't write much together after that. he's still a good friend because like he read my book and he was like, "Oh man, you threw me under the bus." I was like, "I didn't. That's just like how you remember things." But you know, in his mind, he did write a lot for me. So either way, I always considered him like a true friend because he was one of my like early kind of comfort zones. Like I don't really know what to do around here, kind of things. And he was just a chill dude. So
let's end with success though. Top moment doing live theater.
Okay, well, this is another adorable. I guess we're just going for cute memories today.
Okay.
When I was young, my church did a rendition of The Wiz.
Yeah.
And I was very young.
Church.
Yeah, cool church.
Yeah.
I was super young, so like, by the time they got around to me, like all the like human parts were taken. And I was like, well, is anybody playing the dog? And they were like, no, you can have it. So I was like, I'll do that. And then I remember one moment, like I spent the whole play as a dog, like on my knees, you know, no words, just barks, you know, and still getting laughs, you know what I'm saying? Still getting laughs. But there was a moment where they take off running down the aisle to like set for the next scene or something. And like, in my mind, I was just like, well, I'm not just gonna crawl. So I just stood up and ran and everybody laughed. You know, there's the dog running like a person. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's magical.
Yeah,
all
cool.
right, everybody, give it up for Kenan
Thank you.
Thompson. His new book is called Unfunny Bunny. It's out tomorrow wherever you get your books.